you to enter into the Lich's Lair?
We're on now. We're back.
Welcome to the Lich's Lair. I'm Pete.
I'm Jeremy.
And this
We are
is
two evil, powerful witches. Witches? Liches. We're two powerful liches. We invite homebrewers, bold adventurers into our lair with which to share with us their devious magical creations. If we deem them acceptable, they may leave with their lives. If not, we will claim their souls. And, we'll still take their treasure and add it to our hoard. So, Pete,
do it either way. We always get the treasures.
We have, of course, with the Lich.
We have DFroGGotten1 with us. Welcome, Frog. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, no problem. I always love doing this.
I'm very excited for your submission tonight. I saw an early version of this, so I'm interested to see what's changed.
Yes, likewise. I technically, usually Lich's Lair, we go in completely sight unseen, but I only saw, I didn't give this a thorough read-through. I gave this, just a pass at the end of the stream last time. So I think it qualifies for Lich's Lair still.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm excited to go through. So we talked about a rubric earlier, and that's what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be reading Frog's creation. What do you have for us today, Frog?
Today I'll be presenting y'all with my first time creating a Barbarian subclass called Path of the Frolicking Fae.
Yes, the Path of the Frolicking Fae. It's a strong name right off the bat, especially for a barbarian. The Frolicking Barbarian is a very cute idea. This review that we're going to be doing of it is going to be a lot more thorough than a lot of the stuff that we usually do. Like you just saw us kind of doing some of the workshop stuff. We're going to go through each feature, read it, and then talk about it in the context of those ideas that we spoke about and Jeremy talked about with our rubric earlier on.
Yeah, and those are our 5 segments. Space is a room for it mechanically or flavor-wise in 5e, doesn't already exist. Balance, is it well balanced compared to comparable, similar content? Playability, is there anything frustrating that would disrupt the flow of the game? And that design, is it elegant and does it follow the conventions of 5e? Is it easy to understand and actually play? And flavor, is it exciting?
Yeah.
And I like that I can say that whole flavor point in 3 words. But
it's exciting. Yeah, I mean, really, that does sum it up. So that's what we're going to be doing. And Frog, we're going to hop into it in a moment. But before, I have a couple questions. One, is there anything you'd like us to know about this, or people to know about this before we go in?
Can't really think of anything, but if I had to actually compare it to something, it's something that you actually made a comparison to last week, Pete, which was if this is pretty much if the Team Fortress 2 was it Pyro was a barbarian.
Yes.
Based on that Meet the Pyro video.
For anyone who hasn't seen the Meet the Pyro video, I suggest after Fantasy Labs tonight, checking that one out, and then you'll know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. Assuming that things haven't changed too much on this and that particular flavor regard. In that case, Frog, would you like us to read it, or did you want to read it yourself?
Oh, you're more than welcome to.
Very well.
Pete, you mind if I kick us off?
I was going to ask you if you'd like to start.
I would love to. I'm very excited about this. I mean, when you have a feature called Dance Through the Danger, it's just instantly exciting. Of course I'm scared of barbarians normally, but barbarians like that, who smile and dance as blood drenches their whole body, that makes the other barbarians look like charismatic noblemen. A halfling part. At 3rd level, you choose the path of the Fae who frolic with joy and excitement, even in the midst of a battlefield. Your choice grants you features at 3rd level, and again at 6th, 10th, and 14th levels. And Path of the Frolicking Fae. The Path of the Frolicking Fae is a journey of whimsy and mischievousness, where every step with the Fae leads you closer to a place of happiness, where you ravage your foes across the fields of battle. In battle, your experience with frolicking with the sprites, satyrs, redcaps, and other fae fills your heart with an unnatural state of content, a rage fueled by wanting to dance through your foes and bringing carnage with a smile. Barbarian tribes who live in close connection with the Fae or the Feywild have a disposition that is unusual compared to other tribes, smiling and humming as they hunt large animals, dancing while they cut down bandits, and heartily laughing as they take the lives of monsters that threaten them or their Fae allies. All right.
So that's one thing I was interested in off the bat, is how you'd connect it to the Fae, which it seems like these are less like, they don't have magical Fae. These are just barbarians that are kind of friends with Fae folk.
Yeah.
It's also really interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they pretty much are like having close connections to the Fae, but at the same time, like I'm using the Fae that are both mischievous and cruel at the same time. In that regards,
more dark Fae presences.
Some of the
not really
ones.
dark Fae, just how they affect the mind.
It's interesting because I think one of the ones that you mentioned in particular. So, like, when I'm looking at the Fae that you mentioned, I think sprites, this doesn't make me feel super sprite-like, at least as they are in the player's hand or the monster manual. Satyrs, they're more hedonists. Red caps.
But yeah.
Oh, right. That's what we're channeling here. We're channeling our inner red cap here. Like, just red caps, just the joy of running around and kicking people in the shins with their big metal boot just because they can. Like, that's kind of what I kind of think here.
Well, the mention satyrs because of the whole laughing and smiling and all that and dancing.
Oh, of course.
And sprites are pretty much one of the more warlike of the good Fae. So,
see, this is stuff that I don't know.
This is all.
I'm not as well versed in the Fae as some.
This is true of sprites. They got those little blow darts, and they're mean with them. But we have the first feature here, if I might, Dance Through the Danger, which is a great name. I see you have like a nice naming convention all the way through here, which is starting when you choose this path at 3rd level, you dance with finesse and grace when you rage. While you rage, you have an additional 10 feet of walking speed. When you move away from an enemy to attack another enemy while you rage, your dancing movements impose disadvantage on attacks of opportunity against you. All right. We want to probably go through the whole thing and then go back and go one at a time, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Hum Through the Hunt. Beginning at 6th level, your content with hunting down your enemies empowers your senses, and such a great feeling causes you to happily hum a melody. You gain a bonus to your passive perception equal to your proficiency bonus, and you cannot be surprised. And then 10th level?
Yes, 10th level. Smile Through the Carnage. Starting at 10th level, you can smile as you slaughter your foes, bringing an unnerving chill to those who see it. As an action, a creature within 10 feet of you that have line of sight of you while raging must make a successful Constitution saving throw or become stunned until the end of their next turn. The DC for this saving throw is equal to 8 plus your Constitution modifier plus your proficiency bonus. This effect ends if the creature ends its turn out of line of sight or more than 30 feet away from you. If the creature succeeds on its saving throw, you can't use this feature on that creature again for 24 hours. And then Laugh Through the Slaughter. By the time you've reached 14th level, your mood in battle is so great that you laugh loudly as you bring doom onto your foes. When you reduce a creature within 5 feet of you to 0 or fewer hit points, you can use your reaction to laugh heartily, imposing disadvantage on the next attack roll, saving throw, or ability check to all creatures of your choice who can hear you within 20 feet. All right. There is a very clear theme here.
Interesting.
So, for starters, one thing I do have a question about, there was a typo, which I wouldn't normally rake you over the coals for it, but it did actually throw me off on Smile Through the Carnage as to what the intent was. Is that just when, as an action on your turn, you can choose a single creature? Or is it creatures?
I think it was supposed to be creatures.
So all creatures within 10 feet of you. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. So in that case, Jeremy, do you want to start working our way through here?
Yeah. Maybe we start at the actual flavor text and then start jumping our way through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So starting with just the flavor text, I think, and this doesn't really follow under any of our rubric points, but it's a little wordy. There's just a lot going on here, and yeah. I don't know. It's a little repetitive in some points.
Yeah, in terms of the actual writing, it definitely seems like it says kind of this. I think the two paragraphs kind of say a lot of the same things twice. I would like to hear maybe the first paragraph. I would like to maybe hear a little bit more, or even if you want to, it might even just be that you might want to cut it down to that first statement, because usually these path descriptions don't really need to be that long. You might want to go with just talking about the creatures that they go with, and that they fight with a smile, and their carnage brings them joy. I think that's probably enough of a description of this.
All right.
Yeah, I think the second paragraph is great. I mean, I think it's pretty much spot on. But yeah, I think like we were saying, that second sentence just seems a bit much. I felt like I was chewing on something as I was trying to like read through it a little bit. It was just a little too much.
All right, gotcha.
Let's talk about this third level feature though. Dance through the danger. What do you think, Pete?
I like the design of this feature. The only thing I am a little confused about, when you move away from an enemy to attack another enemy while you rage, feels just a little bit arbitrary to me. It feels like it might just want to be just opportunity attacks, or have a phrasing that's like, because it implies that you have to make an attack that same turn after you provoke the opportunity attack, but also it's just really, it comes down to a question of the player's intent, because things can interrupt that. So like if something was going to happen that would stop them from doing that, but they don't know, like there's just some things, it feels like it just needs to be either made opportunity attacks, or you have to move towards an enemy.
There's an intent of certain conditions occurring in this, or an assumption of certain conditions that might not actually happen. Like, so in this situation, right, when you move away from an enemy to attack another enemy, so you move away from an enemy, you get hit, you go unconscious. Well, you can't attack that enemy now, so you wouldn't have provoked the opportunity attack, so you're not unconscious, right? Like, there's a weird kind of feedback loop there. I'm with Pete. I think you could just say your dancing movements impose disadvantage on attacks opportunity against you, and leave it like that.
And I think that's a style, for sure, for a barbarian. Especially like, you can, this would let you move a little bit, faster. It encourages movement. I love features that encourage movement. And
well, I kind of got a feel about that though.
I also wanted to say, you have reckless attack, so this is gonna make it maybe feel a little bit better to reckless attack when you're not getting destroyed constantly if you're jumping around, at least on the opportunity attacks,
The feel I've got right off the bat is like, the additional 10 feet of movement, it makes sense for what you're going for here, especially when you're also pairing it with the opportunity attacks aspect. But barbarians already get, what is it, their unarmored movement, I think it was? What do they
They get fast movement, I want to say at 5th level.
Oh, it's at 5th level. Okay, so maybe that's all right. Yeah, all right, never mind. I thought
barbarians usually end up at 40 without armor.
So maybe that's fine. The big thing that I would like to see here, right, is where is the power in this feature? And I'm not saying that every feature has to be super powerful, but by convention, the third level feature that subclasses get for barbarians is their big feature. Like, besides their core class rage, this is their big thing, right? Frenzied barbarians get to make an extra attack at 3rd level. Totem warrior barbarians get huge bonuses, including, amping up their resistance to all damage types and all sorts of things. I don't see disadvantage on opportunity attacks as being that big of a feature.
Yeah, Lord knows it's not as powerful as a bear totem or an extra attack. You're definitely right about that. That's a fair point. I like the design, and it definitely feels right on brand with what the Flavor says. What were you gonna say, Frog?
I was going to say, so basically 10 feet of extra movement while raging and disadvantage on attacks of opportunity against you is not that powerful.
Yeah. Again, the movement isn't power; it's like utility, and the disadvantage of attacks of opportunity is nice, but it's an attack of opportunity. You don't have to provoke it, right? Like, if you're in a situation where you're not incentivized to provoke an attack of opportunity, and you're just doing one for no reason, like there's no reason to do it, right? It's like a lot of the time this can be a dead feature in that regard. One thing that could be really neat might be like if you got some sort of like damage bonus from moving, kind of like the charger feat. That might be something to incorporate into here. In fact, you could like incorporate the text of the charger feat into this, but not call it charger, with the intent of, yes, when you frolic toward an enemy, you deal an extra 5 damage, right, on your first attack, if you've moved at least 10 feet. Something like that, just to like incentivize you to actually take these opportunity attacks, right?
I like that idea a lot, Jeremy. I think that's a cool direction to go for this. Because yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, because I love the like the core design of avoiding opportunity attacks. Just because it promotes, I just think it promotes fun too. Because I think moving around and like, I actually think getting attacked with disadvantage is fun. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually look through all the features as a whole, they don't really focus on damage. They're more focused on just like utility in a way.
Yeah, but from a design perspective, the Barbarian class assumes that the subclass is going to give you some oomph in combat beyond just what Rage gives you. And so when it doesn't do that, I don't know. I could see this maybe being a little frustrating. Maybe not, because Barbarian's so good. And Grimnibel made a great point. In fast movement, the feature, you can't be wearing heavy armor. So maybe if this was a heavy armor Barbarian,
I believe I thought I said that.
Did you? I apologize.
I believe so, but perhaps not. Regardless, let's talk Hum Through the Hunt. Because Hum Through the Hunt actually didn't quite hit as well for me as Dance with the Danger did, which isn't necessarily because of the way that it functions. It just, I don't necessarily understand the connection between you humming a melody and gaining passive perception and not being able to be surprised.
Well, I guess the best comparison I could give it is like more in tune to the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I get to see it, because like empowering your senses, you can actually tell like what around you is like what would be considered dangerous and like what is different from everything else around you, and just humming just happily. So
I guess I guess you can make an argument that it's sort of like almost an echolocation sort of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
But I don't know if that connection really comes across in just the way it's
not really like, I mean, it's kind of, but it's more like just better senses, but not quite at the level of oh, I know that thing's right over there.
Yeah, I get where you're going. I'm just not sure I really follow. Right, like your smile through the carnage, the smile does something, right? Your dance through the danger, the dancing does something, right? It's disadvantage, it gives disadvantage opportunity attacks. In this one, the humming doesn't do anything, right? I think like when I see this feature, I expect you to hum something and that humming to make some sort of effect. And frankly, the path perception doesn't really do it for me.
That
like
connection. Yeah, that's where I was at too.
And then I'd even make a comment about the surprise. At 7th level, all barbarians get Feral Instinct, which is a feature that if they would be surprised at the beginning of combat, they can act normally as long as they rage before they do anything else. So to put that at 6th level on this, it's like you're actually completely, well, I'm not you're completely, but you're reducing the impact of that 7th level feature they're going to be getting anyway. And I'd be worried about using surprise.
Okay, yeah, I kind of forgot about that feature.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy to forget those guys.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily dislike them gaining extra passive perception. That seems like something that could be kind of, fey in its nature. Just a more spatial awareness. I get where you're going for. Like empowering your senses is something that feels fey to me. It's just the connection with the hum isn't there, and I think Jeremy's also very much right about the surprise ability. So,
alrighty.
Yeah, and I see we got some comments in chat. Frosty was saying, right, the danger sense, at least don't need the alert feed as much. So yeah, I can see there's Stacks was danger sense. Yeah. Blood was saying that he just wouldn't play the subclass. It's missing a lot from the Barbarian design. I'd love to know, Blood, what exactly you think is missing. Is it really just those damaging aspects that we're talking about, or is it just a conceptual doesn't really interest you? Because I think there's a big difference between like, in Dance with the Danger, it needs some sort of combat-oriented oomph, but from a flavor-wise, no matter how good you make it, if you're not liking the flavor of it, it's not going to roll for you. It doesn't work for everybody.
And flavor-wise, I mean, this very much does. I mean, beyond it being a obviously like being kind of a very like combat-heavy and just angry, built around class, having that kind of archetype. I mean, this feels very Barbarian to me, and this feels like a niche that a lot of people would be interested in, honestly. This kind
I agree, actually.
This kind of juxtaposition of personality and anger. But let's look at Smile Through the Carnage next.
Yeah, starting at 10th level. So this is really weird. It's an action, 10-foot radius. There are certain phrases like line of sight you don't want to use. I think you want that can see you is the phrase, because line of sight just isn't a keyword in 5e. Creatures that don't see, for example, right, that use echolocation can't see you, but they know where you are. And I think that's something like why you want to omit certain phrases like that.
All right.
And the rest of it, that's a big impact. It's basically a 10-foot radius area stun. Does it only affect creatures of your choice, or is it everything?
As it stands, it's just every creature. Constitution saving throw or become stunned. I mean, it's a full round action. How does this interact, Jeremy, with the rage feature? Actually, do you have unending rage at that point?
What do you mean?
The rage that do you have to still attack every round to rage,
or be attacked?
Yeah. But at level 10, what point do you get to just keep raging as long as?
Relentless Rage is level 11. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's not even. That's Persistent Rage is level 15.
Oh, 15.
Which is your rage doesn't end unless you fall unconscious.
Because it has almost an anti-synergy with rage in the sense that if this works exactly as you want it to, your rage would end because you would stun all the things that would attack you and you don't attack.
I think that's all right though, right? Because it's just you're smiling.
I did have this paired up with the Dance to the Danger originally.
In what? What do you
mean?
mean?
Did provoke an opportunity attack, dance over into the middle, and then smile and stun everyone.
Okay,
right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, similar in that fashion. Like you just make it where it's like you smile at one group, stun them, or hopefully stun them, then move to another group and attack with the extra 10 feet.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, that little bit of anti-synergy kind of that would throw me off in wanting to use this feature. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just doesn't it seem kind of frustrating? Like if the best case scenario on it would expend the use of your core class feature. Like
the thing that I think gets me in this, right, is like it's a big area, which means it could potentially be a lot of enemies, which could be just frustrating.
It's also very good.
Yeah, I'm just unsure of how to feel with it. Like, I'd almost be like more excited about this if it were like one targeted creature and it was like an ongoing stun, and you could use this like a set number of times, right, per long rest. I think I'd be like more into that almost. But
I also don't like the idea of them. I kind of like the it happens to someone one. Like I actually almost wanted this to be if the creature succeeds on its saving throw. Like I also wanted it to be like, and if you use it on a creature, you can't use it again. Like,
Okay, I can see that. I can see that being a possible good design for it.
yeah, that would make me feel a little bit better. I really don't like the idea because this does have the ability to just stun lock things. You could just do this every turn, and that's not fun. Also, that's another problem with that though, is that's not fun, both for the GM and even the person doing the stun locking. Is just like I spend my turn to smile again, like.
Yeah, I'm just a little. I get the design you're going for. I'm just not sure it really like makes sense. The mechanics of how it's executed. I'm just not sure. What might be a cool idea is if you wanted to tie this, and I'm not even sure this would work at all, but like, right, if when a creature fails an opportunity attack against you, you can use your reaction to smile at it, doing blah blah blah, right? That could be neat. I don't know if that's necessarily the way to go, but just as a way of kind of tying things together a little bit more.
I like the flavor of smile to impose debuff. I think that's on point for what you're doing. It almost actually seems like
Frosty Pirate says my idea is bad, so never mind, ignore me.
Lol.
I'm spitballing.
Anyway, the idea of smile to inflict debuff actually seems like almost the core of what you want this thing to be. So I definitely don't go this direction.
This is the right direction to go. It's just the execution is like stun. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, stun might even be an okay CC to apply. It's just a little powerful where it's at. The repeatability of it, the area of effect nature of it. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong, I think, with this current situation. All right. But let's look at Laugh Through the Slaughter last year. Do you want to go or do you want me to go, Jeremy?
I like that you can take her.
I'll take this one. This was, by the time you reach 14th level, your mood in battle is so great that you laugh loudly as you bring doom onto your foes. When you reduce a creature within 5 feet of you to 0 or less hit points, you can use your reaction to laugh heartily, imposing disadvantage on the next attack roll, saving throw, or ability check to all creatures of your choice who can hear you within 20 feet. I think that this is in a decent place, actually.
It's like almost there. I love the first half of it. The thing that I'm not super into is this last, like the next roll everything makes is a disadvantage because it's just
a tracking issue.
Yeah, exactly. It's an accounting puzzle now for the dungeon master to have to follow. Like, if it were like the fear effect, maybe that might like make more sense, I think, to me. And I don't know if
I just felt like fear was kind of low powered at 14th level, so
I don't know. Maybe
on the subject of fear in this subclass, I think that like this is a subclass that should probably be able to give the fear effect at some point, and maybe Smile Through the Carnage is the right place for that.
Yeah, probably.
That's a good point, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, you said fear is a little weak for 14th level. When you look at what some of the other barbarians get at 14th level, it's not really that powerful.
Yeah, the touchdowns are rarely impressive.
Yeah, it does just like a little bit of damage. Like if you go to the Storm Herald Barbarian, right? When they're when they're hit by an attack by a creature in their aura of fire, right, for the desert aura, they can use a reaction to make them make a saving throw and deal half their barbarian level in damage. So it's big, complicated thing for 10 damage tops, right? Like, they're very minor features for the most part. They're just little damage boosts almost across the board for everything. Most of these subclasses just get a little bit of damage to keep them competitive. So, yeah, it's kind of like, obviously you're going in a different direction here with this debuff, and I think that's okay. It's just a very different style of barbarian, I think, than many of the other subclasses, but
yeah, and it's another thing where I really like, I really was I was bought in on the setup for this. You laugh loudly when you bring doom. When you reduce a creature to 0 or less hit points, you can use your reaction to laugh heartily. I'm 100% sold until we get to just the major accounting of that last feature, of that last little bit.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know about you, Jeremy. I'm having a hard time personally figuring out what I would want to see there.
At this level? At 14th?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking right now at the bear totem, right? Totemic attunement bear on the what's it called? Primal path of the totem warrior. There we go. Bear is when you're raging, any creature within 5 feet of you that's hostile to you has disadvantage in attack rolls against targets other than you or another creature with this feature. And enemies immune to this effect if they can't see you, hear you, or if it can't be frightened. I think that's a really simple thing here. It's just, when you use this feature, if every creature, I'd go within 30 feet because 20 feet is just a kind of weird metric in 5 feet. But I'd say, each creature within 30 feet of you has disadvantage on attack rolls against your friends, right? That could be a thing you could do here. And that might be fine, right? Like, I don't think that necessarily be an issue. Or maybe you go in a different direction. Maybe they can't move toward you, right? And then, or you just use frightened, right? I think there's a lot of ways.
Yeah, I would be a little reticent on frightened if you're going to use a CC in Smile Through the Carnage, because I feel like you don't want two of their things to just be
heavy CC.
Heavy CC.
All right.
Yeah. But just I guess it's going to depend on the interaction with that feature. And yeah, maybe if it wasn't saving throw, attack roll, or ability check, and it was just attack roll, I might have felt a little better about it because it's just one thing to think about, even though it's on multiple creatures. That's kind of where we're at. So Jeremy, do you want to start working through the rubric here?
Yeah. So looking at our rubric here, let me zoom out. All right, Fantasy Labs rubric. So let's talk, I guess, space first, right? Like, is there room for this in 5e? And I think, absolutely. I think there's totally room for this. I think the Pyro from TF2 Frog is a really great example of what you were going for. And I think a lot of people would really be into playing it. Would just be very into that concept.
I agree.
So right off the bat, check mark there.
Space point for me as well.
What do I want to jump to? Want to just go down the list, Pete? Let's talk balance, because I think actually balance is a kind of easy one with this.
This is.
It needs more early. It's a little weak. It's because it's a little weak, and then Smiles of the Carnage is maybe a little bit strong. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't quite have the balance point for me. No, yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's too weak, too early, and that stun is just too consistent. Just the persistence of it is just a little funky.
Agreed.
And actually, just for a point, I think the level 14 feature actually isn't unbalanced. I actually don't think that's an unbalanced feature. It's just the accounting of it that's weird to me.
Yep. The 14th level is a playability issue, not
Yeah. And even then, it might not really be
necessarily
that
a design issue. Yeah, it's not bad. It's like it's a little more accounting than I would like to see.
Yeah.
My perspective, but
let's talk about playability.
Yeah.
Anything disruptive or frustrating here, you think?
I actually see. It's a question of I see some playability issues in this, but I think those are more for the person playing it. And I think if there's an issue for the person playing it, that's more of a design issue than it is a playability issue.
I agree. Like the maybe not having as much damage at first level, like the fact that there's no damage feature on this, which is kind of every barbarian subclass has something to a degree, or typically has something. I could see that being frustrating, but is Smile Through the Carnage a playability issue, do you think?
That's a great question.
Because it's got this tracking of which creatures have saved and which haven't. Like, there's a reason that player character features don't have that specific aspect, Frog, with if they fail their saving throw, they can't use the feature again for 24 hours. Only monsters have that, because monsters are only really ever going to target like 4 players, really. Whereas a player might target a whole crap load of monsters.
My thinking is that I don't. The thing is this feature has kind of enough of an issue with it where I think you could say that there's an issue with this in balanced design and playability. It's just a question of, do we want to say that this is all of those things? Because I feel like what it comes down to is it's too good. I don't know. I would almost give the playability point for this, but I can understand if you'd want to do maybe a half on it, because...
No, I actually think that I'd still give it the playability point. And it's like, there's a little bit of extra accounting on Laugh Through the Slaughter I'd like that we didn't have to worry about, or at least were simplified, right? I'd like if Smile Through the Carnage didn't have the potential to have a lot of accounting on it, but yeah, I'm not seeing that be it's not a deal breaker, so I'll give it the playability point.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. A little bit of accounting is fine. If like every feature had that degree of accounting, that's when I would start to be like, this needs to, But one feater,
that would be
at the end of the world. Yeah. Design
and
the design point, I don't think we're going to be able to do because there's some features here that just inherently don't interact well with the Barbarian's design. As Jeremy pointed out, the lack of damage on the 3rd level feature. And then the interactions of both Hum Through the Hunt and Smile Through the Carnage with the surprise, and then the kind of the way Smile Through the Carnage kind of interacts with range.
For me, the biggest thing on the design point is that Hum Through the Hunt, the design of the mechanics do not reflect the flavor of Hum Through the Hunt, right? Of the feature you're trying to create. And I think that even though that kind of ties into flavor a little bit, I think that is a design thing to a degree.
Yeah, it's a bit of both there. But anyway, I would not give the design point.
Nope. And then flavor?
Flavor point. The flavor issue in this is exactly on Hum Through the Hunt. And it's just a question, is that at a point where you would dock flavor for it? Because, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff in this that does... some of the mechanics are problematic, but there's a lot of this that I love. Like, you laugh loudly as you bring doom to your foes. Smile as you slaughter, bringing an unnerving chill.
Well, and even beyond that, Frog, you've managed to accomplish something that a lot of homebrew misses, and that is your mechanics on everything besides Hum Through the Hunt reflect the flavor, right? Dance Through the Danger. You're dancing, and because you dance, that is going to give you disadvantage on... it's going to give attacks disadvantage against you, right? That ties together really well. It makes sense because you're always moving and whimsy and all that whatnot, right? That works. It reflects the flavor of the ability is reflected in the design. And we see that in Smile Through the Carnage, and we see that in Laugh Through the Slaughter as well. And I think that's enough to give it the flavor point for me.
Yeah, I think that part of where you might have gone wrong on Hum Through the Hunt, Frog, was trying to fit the aesthetic of the other names onto that feature.
It was originally called Thrill the Hunt, so I couldn't really think of anything fitting it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Cute naming conventions are never worth...
Well, if you can make them work, they're great.
If you can make them work, but don't force it.
Yeah, don't sacrifice the design and the fun of playing it to try and don't sacrifice your vision to make a fun play on words work, I guess.
That's something that everyone can take away. I've definitely done that before too.
I've done that too.
You just so
bad about that.
Yeah, you just want it to all work out evenly through, but the feature's just different.
Yeah, and it's some interesting chat in chat that we've kind of missed a little bit. Also, welcome, Grogan. It's good to see you.
Hey, Grogan.
But Dance to the Danger is a Shentai song. I don't know what that means, but...
Shentai, the half-genie hero.
Ah, okay.
Ooh.
I don't know anything about anime or popular culture, so...
I believe that
That's me.
I believe that is a video game. Yes.
Yes, it's a Nintendo game.
Oh my god, it's not an
Yes.
anime. Man, I am terrible, guys. Crimson Pelt was saying, playtest to see how well it fits, then adjust and playtest again, rinse and repeat until it's playable. Yeah, exactly, right? If you get the opportunity to playtest these things in
Which
like
I really
one-shots or something, really, really, really helpful. Always good to playtest your stuff. I made a feature for the Ranger like way back when we first started Fantasy Labs, and I've been playtesting it, and I thought it was so good at the beginning, and after playtesting, I'm like, wow, this sucks. Don't want to keep going in this direction. So I'm gonna have to scrap that heavily and anyway, that's distraction. But playtesting is great. And then Blood was saying the Pyro from TF2 is a character personality, not a play style. I don't know. I think the absolute psycho is an archetype, is a character archetype.
I think
actually.
I would even say it's neither.
Yeah, like
character personality
the
or play
Vault
style.
Hunters, I think they're called from just like anything from Borderlands, frankly. The Pyro from TF2, that total psycho, just swinging their axe around. I think that is an archetype. It's just
I think the second half of Blood Deuce's criticism there is maybe a little bit more valid, which is if this has that strong of a kind of feel, that's effectively all you'll ever be able to play in this subclass. That is, I think, a pretty fair point. The question is that a broad enough concept to justify it in of itself? Is the person who is kind of, just a very happy killer, is that archetype broad enough, and can you come up with enough unique ideas in that field?
And I think, and I hate to I think that that's okay. And the reason I'd say that is mainly because of the direction they've gone in the game with the Artificer, even right. Looking at the new or the most recent Artificer Unearthed Arcana with the the battle suit, the Tony Stark suit, right? Iron Man. I don't know, that is so narrow. I feel that that's okay here.
I also will
but
say
I can understand the thought there. Maybe it's too narrow.
I actually like this more than a lot of the subclass options I've seen in terms of flavor, because I think this opens up an interesting genre of barbarian subclasses where I find that the primal paths don't really have a significant unifying theme. Even anger isn't really a unifying theme. Characters that do, warlocks and clerics, I think, are the best example. Clerics, what domain is the god that you worship from? Warlocks, who gives you your power? It's very specific, and it's easy to come up with an idea. I like that this ties into the thing that defines barbarians, which is emotion and personality, and that this is a subclass that plays on emotion and personality rather than on just some arbitrary thing that you've decided is tied to rage, say, a spirit guardian or a storm, which is just when you get angry, storms come out, or when you get angry, your ancestors appear. This feels actually a lot more connected to the barbarian class to me than most subclasses do.
Well, and at the same time, Blood, I can understand the frustration with how certain people that might play this class might take it in a very frustrating to play with direction. But it's also the idea of everyone who plays D&D plays it for different reasons. Some people want to be they want to play a pixie that wields a great axe and murders people, and that's what some people are really into. That's just what's fun for them. Other people like making super optimized. Here is my half-elf paladin sorcerer, monstrosity that has an AC of 26 at 4th level. And, that people like to play D&D for different reasons. And I think it's just as valid to cater to the person who's interested in this psycho kind of character archetype as it is to cater to people who'd be interested in the Ancestral Guardian, which is a very spiritual take on the barbarian. So I guess that's just kind of my thought on it. But overall, Pete, let's hop back real quick. Where are we at for our rubric? We got space, we got playability, and we got flavor, I think.
We have space, playability, and flavor. We got a 3 out of 5, is I believe where we're leaving things.
All right. Well, Frog, I hope that the first. Thank you so much for being on Lich's Lair. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to devour your soul.
No.
Yeah,
But before
that's what they all say.
Before someone's devoured about that pixie, for anyone who hasn't seen it, the pixie sub races. Oh, pixie will
I'm sure
be
you've
the
made a
perfect
pixie to
one.
go with this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see you playing your pixie sub race and this barbarian for it.
But
It would be very funny.
I don't think of pixie when I think of this barbarian. I think of like Goliath.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing. I was just picturing a very big human the whole time. I was picturing a very above average sized human the whole time. But I just want to wrap up this discussion with Blood Deuce here. Referencing the Oath of Heroism Paladin and the UA is something that put a little bit too much emphasis on one player character's successes. Again, I just disagree. I believe I said that when we talked about the Heroism Paladin as well, which is you can't. I just don't believe in designing around what some of the players that are the most disruptive would do, but rather just designing around something that's fun and that players can use in a positive way.
Well, I'm kind of on the opposite side. I thought it was definitely too focused in the UA, but I think it's kind of apples and oranges for this, right? This isn't like a subclass that's designed to take the spotlight away from other characters. There's nothing in this that does that by design or by mechanic. So I'm not sure that's a problem in my opinion. But either way.
Well, I believe this is the end of our Lich's Lair segment here, and the Lich claims another soul.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much,
The
Frog.
thing doesn't play at the end, does it?
No, we're not playing the thing at the end anymore. We're not playing the thing at the beginning.
Thank you so much, Frog. If any of you are interested in doing Lich's Lair and having us do a very thorough critique of a piece of homebrew that you have created, let me know on our Discord, which you can find linked below, and I will get you on the queue. I know we already have one lined up for next week, but the 2 weeks from now slot could be yours if you're interested in it. So make sure to let me know. And yeah, one last thank you to you, Frog, because it does take a lot of bravery to come on here and let us really go nitpick and tear apart kind of anything that we look at to critique it so harshly.
I'm a monster.
Yeah.
I'm quite aware, and I'm actually kind of thankful because, even with artists like myself, our biggest critic is actually ourselves, but we always love to have other people nitpick as well.
It's nice, right?
Because of y'all that actually got my pixie race to be quite a lot better.
Well,
you know what? That's the whole point of it, right? Is to learn and to improve, and for everyone hanging out with us too, to also kind of glean some wisdom off of our babbling.
Yeah. Thank you again, Frog. And we're gonna probably go into our break now. When we come back, we're gonna be talking about the new Unearthed Arcana feats.
We will see you all.
You, Jeremy, please.
Yeah, we'll see you all in just a second. We'll be back.